All right, I'm with Trevor Mothsegoa,
Yes, sir.
and Trevor Mothsegoa is founder of My Pops and I. And maybe before I get to my questions, just want you to just explain what is My Pops and I.
My pops and I, right? In the, I think in the past 4 years, the description or the definition of what it is, I don't want to say has changed, but it has evolved. You know, but to explain it simply, so my pops and I is a platform. Rather, let me use that word. It's a platform where we get to firstly embrace fatherhood, and then secondly to create dialogue around issues of fatherhood, you know, whether it's personal, whether it's your own experiences, but basically talking about fatherhood and everything and anything around it, so holistically, because as a man, holistically you've got different aspects about you. It's your mind, which is your mental health, your emotions, your finances. So how do we? So what my pops and I aims at doing is, how do we build a culture and a society where we have men that are proper, from a fatherhood's point of view. Yeah.
Now, I like that because the there's like it's obvious that we have issues with fatherhood, and not only in Africa, but around the world, right?
True.
So, what do you think this genesis of this pandemic of absent fatherhood or dysfunctional fathers is coming from, or on your end?
Mm. And I'm actually glad that you call it a pandemic.
Yeah.
Because it's a pandemic that's been with us for years, actually,
Yes, yeah.
centuries, actually.
Yes.
And it's not just a South African thing; it's a global thing.
Yep.
And I mean, some researches, some researches, and I'll specifically speak about our South African reason why this fatherhood thing is a mess, especially in black communities. I mean, if you can remember, I'll just take it up a couple of years back in our history. During that era. I don't want to mention its name. I don't like talking too much about that.
Glorifying it.
Yeah, but I don't want to give it too much airtime. But the reality is that with how the system was, fathers had to leave mothers with kids at home, and fathers had to go and work. That's where the dysfunction started. The time Alavaya for 6 months, working at the mines, at the farms, and all of that. The only time they get to see their kids is once or twice a year, which is something that eventually became a norm for us black people, So it basically destroyed the whole structure of family, because kids grow up without fathers around, and we are raised by single mothers, which unfortunately we made it a culture, and even in times where we are able to be around, we can't be around because we don't know this thing. This thing is very foreign to many. So those, for me, and according to what I understand, that's where all of this thing began. And to some extent, you also had mothers leaving their homes bayohlala kwamlungu as domestic workers.
Sure.
And we are left with our grannies at home.
Yeah.
So the whole family structure in our black communities was disassembled by those circumstances.
Yeah, I think it's a what you're raising is a very interesting point. Thank you. Um, we're just being served food. But I know some of you guys see interesting.
Yes.
Um, I know my listeners don't have videos,
Okay,
so
nice.
so it's only audio.
Oh,
So
nice.
they might be wondering why this guy's saying thanks and then all that. Yeah, so we're just being served coffee and all of the above.
Yeah, it's coffee.
Yes.
It's nothing else but coffee. Just putting it out there.
Yeah.
Hola.
Sure. Thanks, man.
Thanks, man.
So I just like how the genesis of dysfunctional families and putting it in the context of South Africa and how it is now, right? That it seems like the issue was having to feed the family, right? Because the father leaving the house, would you say it? You wouldn't say that it's not by choice, right? It's because he has to feed the family, right? So, do we? There are many things that people are doing for the sake of money, right? And in South Africa now, we've always said, there's just some funny trends or news that have been happening of some of our sisters going to Dubai and all the situation there. But the genesis when you had the conversation is always about money, right? So should we blame our timers, or because I think probably the area you're talking about is my granddad. I know my granddad has a very similar story that you're talking about. I had an opportunity to speak to my dad. He narrated the same story that you're explaining now. So, just to not speak for long, yeah. So, should we blame them for leaving our families just to provide us?
All right. I don't think it's much to do with blame. You know, I don't think blame is the right word.
Sure.
Or if we should be even blaming them, because I mean circumstances forced them to do what they did.
Yes.
And we all know whether it's biblical or cultural, a man has to provide.
Sure.
That's what we were taught.
Exactly.
So as a man, you do what needs to be done. So much so that sometimes we sacrifice our time with our kids to make sure that they are taken care of.
Sure.
So it was unfortunate, for a lack of a better word, that the circumstances were like that, where unlike now, where you can work in urban areas and still live in urban areas with your family. You understand? So really, we can't say we blame them, but I believe that as human beings, there's always something to learn from these things. And right now, you see, if we're doing it now, then we can use the blame. Then we can play the blame card, because we know better. We're supposed to be doing better. So do I blame them? Definitely not. Do I blame us if we continue to do it? Definitely.
I like that because you see, we cannot really blame them because of the situation. That's the situation the situation put them in those shoes that they have to provide for us, and they had to do something to at least.
Well, that was the only thing that was available for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, even the types of work that was being offered at the time. It's rare to find a doctor in something, because all they were doing is either you're a teacher or a nurse, and all those other professions, right? But to bring it to what you're doing now, as my pops and I, right?
Yes, sir.
Is you're trying to mend all those failed relationships, but you said I don't want to marginalize you, right? But I just want to focus on the point, right? You want to mend those relationships and get meant to speak. And when I was listening to one of your interviews, ATM, I was asking myself, what does that mean? It was
ATM.
ATM, yeah.
ATM fathering.
So I was like, maybe you just explain as well what it means, because I managed to find, but for someone who doesn't know what does ATM means, but you're trying to mend the relationship between fathers and their children, offspring, right? So how are you getting to get this symbiosis between a father and a son or a daughter happening through your organization?
Okay, so so the whole basic concept is about understanding what fatherhood really is. I think that's the entry point.
Oh, okay, sure, sure, sure,
You know, because I'll speak about me.
sure.
You know, I was raised by a single parent, and and the concept of fatherhood were things that I picked up in the streets. I never had a point of reference to say, unlike somebody that grew up with dad at home, you know, my dad taught me how to ride a bike. You grow up around friends. My
Yeah,
dad taught me
being
this.
taught morals.
Yeah, my dad taught me this. My dad taught me how to change a light bulb. My dad taught me this. My dad taught me this. So I grew up without that point of reference to say, what's a dad supposed to do?
Yeah.
You know? And I think that was the reason why this whole concept of my pops and I was born, to create a platform where I can really learn about this thing, because I want to be good at it.
Yeah.
I want to be a dope dad. How do I become a dope dad? So that's how my pops and I was born. To say, I'm going to create a platform. Actually, it was a platform that I created within myself, where I went out to engage with people who are fathers, just to find out from them about this. I mean, I was still a kid. It didn't make sense to me even then, but I just thought to myself, what the heck? I just need to find out, what is this thing? And more often than not, I tell a story about how there was this sitcom called My Wife and Kids.
Yeah, yeah.
I speak about this a lot.
Sure.
So My Wife and Kids was a sitcom about this guy
Yeah.
and his family, his wife and kids.
Yes.
And the concept of the father that he was something that spoke to me. I was still in primary school, and I decided that time, that the day I become a dad, I want to be that kind of a dad.
Sure.
So fast forward, I'm grown now, and you can tell that you engaging in things that are eventually gonna make you a dad. So you need to start sorting yourself out.
Yeah.
So yeah, started doing research around fatherhood.
Yeah.
Started trying to understand this thing, engaging with my time, trying to make sense of this thing and how it can be done better. So that was the foundation of it. And then it hit me to say, but wait, I can't be the only one going through this, considering how many of my friends also that grew up without their dads. I'm sure they also don't have an idea of how this thing is supposed to be done. And then obviously when you start doing your research, you start realizing, actually, this is a pandemic. This is a pandemic.
Yeah.
So I created a platform. Created a platform where what we do is we invite people who are fathers, who have been fathers, who've been doing their thing in the journey, to come and share with us. But it's not only limited to that, but people who are even not fathers but have experience with their own fathers. Because fatherhood comes in two dimensions. You receive it as a child, and then you give it as a father.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's always good to create a room or an environment where you can get people to talk about these things from all different dimensions. So that's what it is.
You see, when you talk about fatherhood, I like one of the points that you mentioned now, which is fatherhood comes from you comes to you when you're a child, and then you give it out when you are a father,
Sure.
right? How important is it to have a father in a family unit, right? And what are the repercussions of not having a father? Because most of the time I mean, I think in the past month it was, if not this month, it was Father's Day, right?
Yeah.
And we get the single lady saying that you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
The baby mamas are saying that, or maybe the children rather are saying that kudos to my mother who played both the role of my father and my mother. So, cause with that, it in a sense it also downplays the role of a father, right, as well,
Yeah.
right? But for you, what is the most important thing of having? Why is fathers important, and what are the repercussions of not having a father in a family unit?
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, we can't make excuses for guys that blatantly refuse to take up responsibility of fatherhood. I mean, there's no way, I can justify or excuse that. It's whack what they're doing, you know, but 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 because I mean, we've grown up in a culture where so many have normalized making babies and not taking care of them. I was having a conversation with one of my friends earlier today to say, you get guys that's got like 5, 6, 7 kids, and they pride themselves with that, but they're not taking care of the kids. And unfortunately, we grew up in communities that normalize that. It's a norm to do that. So for me, I just think that it has eventually got to a point where single mothers raising kids by themselves are just sick of it, which they're supposed to be. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because we're supposed to be in there. you know but at the same time, you also look at the dynamic. Ya gore, many of us don't have that point of reference of fatherhood. you know
So we can't really
the only
say,
thing that we know, yeah,
we can't really know what it means to not have a father and what it means to have a father.
the only thing that we know is guys that leave. Guys that make babies and they leave. That's all we know. That's what has become some sort of a norm. you know so so you can't look at this thing from one angle. You have to look at it holistically. And by no means am I making any excuses or justifications, but it's just one of those things where we really need to have these conversations, and honest conversations about these issues. you know so basically, to add to that, I mean, I don't want to get too much into the whole social media hype around some women saying Happy Father's Day to themselves. I don't even think we should be making.
Okay, yeah. No, we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
Fantastic.
Oh, so as I was saying, that my dad used to work far from home, so he used to come like weekends, depending on if he's working too much, right? So for me, I felt like the voice of a father is very much important to a son. I'll speak for on a son point of view, to kind of like set some morals in a sense. So okay, no, because I feel like morals are very much important. Besides maybe being taught to do 1, 2, 3, but if you're being told, okay, you don't beat a woman, bringing back to gender-based violence.
Sure.
You don't do. If these things are being taught to us at a very young age, at least we become better human beings and better fathers. Unfortunately, I'm not a father yet.
You'll get there. Don't
We'll
worry.
get
You'll
there,
get
yeah.
there.
So at least that allows us to campus ourselves. And I mean, like, look at us now. We've tried to come out. I'm looking at you as well. Um, you saying that this is where your personal story comes in. You said that you didn't grow up with a father, but look at you now. You're doing this big thing, which is helping future fathers and actual fathers who are actually doing it now to kind of like reconcile, if they're reconciling, or becoming better fathers. So bringing it to you, how did it affect you not having a father figure in your life growing up?
Okay, so I think one thing that we need to be aware of, right,
Sure.
is that we can't have a blanket approach to this topic, because this
complex,
it's very complex.
Yeah, it's very complex, yeah.
Circumstances are very different.
Yeah.
I mean, typically you get somebody that grew up without a father becoming a great father.
Yeah.
Somebody that grew up with a father becoming an opposite.
Yeah.
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 So it's important to highlight the fact that we constantly need to create the awareness of what the responsibilities of a father is. And not just individually but collectively, because we share different experiences as far as what this fatherhood thing is. Your view of fatherhood is different from my view of fatherhood. His view is different from the other one. So and the truth is, there's no manual to this fatherhood thing.
Yeah.
Many fathers have been on a trial and error kind of vibe. And actually I was having a conversation with other men today, around the same topic. This thing, we learn it as we go.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is to be present, be there. And we can't only just relegate relegate fatherhood to me and my
Certain
biological
scenario.
kids.
Exactly. Yeah. True.
It's just I'm not just a father to my biological kids, but I'm a father because I'm a father. Even to kids that are not my biological kids, because you spoke of morals. You spoke of morals. It's important to.
We're being served food at
Yep.
Peter's kitchen, guys. The food looks amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't know if you should continue the podcast or I should just jump in the.
For the sake of the podcast, let's just finish.
let's work. No,
Yeah,
let's
sure.
work. All right, but another one aspect that's very very important, that we need to take into account, is that you're not just a father to your own kids, Pen. But when young kids look at you as Grotman, you are a father to them. So what messes up society is that, because and to me also, it does not make sense why you'd want to be a good father at home, but in the streets you want to wild out. Because that does not balance out for me. So the whole concept of fatherhood is, we need to be fathers to our communities.
Yeah.
Hence the saying, it takes a village
Yeah.
to raise a child.
Sure.
That's where that whole concept comes from. Because I grew up in a generation where all the mothers in my hood were my mothers.
Sure.
I couldn't do nonsense
Not in front of them.
in front of either one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Manswar.
Yeah.
So that's the culture that we need of fatherhood. You need to also be aware that you're not just a father to your kids, fella, but you are a father to each and every child that you encounter.
I think I like what you just said now. The reason why I'm even smiling is because I feel like I got to understand, because you see, you can take a long time just to try to understand someone, and even trying to read about them. But there's a time where the bulb switch just switches on.
And it's an epiphany.
Epiphany, exactly. So that's what just happened to me now. I was like, okay, the conversation has to keep on going, because at least when the conversation keeps on going, it makes each and everyone out there to understand, okay, this is what fatherhood is. And even bring it on the kid's side, the fathers also get to know what it feels when you're not around as a father. So it was like, okay, yeah, aha moment for
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
No, bro, you need to understand one thing,
Yeah.
and I always emphasize this, we, with the platform that we've created, we're not coming from a we know it all perspective,
Sure.
because we all learning.
Yeah, because you're sharing stories as well. Like
You know what I mean? We are all learning. I'm learning from you, and I'm learning from the next person. So we talk about all these things, and we try now to filter out what's not necessary, and take in what makes sense, and then we run with it.
Sure.
So we're somewhat creating a blueprint of an idea of how this thing is supposed to look like.
Sure.
It's not gonna be a perfect blueprint, but at least it's a start.
Gets the work done.
You understand?
Yeah, sure,
it's a
sure.
start to say I need to be present.
Yeah.
I need to be psychologically available to the child. I need to be emotionally available. I need to be physically available. I need to be financially available.
Yeah.
And fatherhood evolves.
Yeah.
Your child grows and you also grow. So there's learning
So you kind
in
of
the
see,
growth.
You see your son becoming a father. Or
Yeah.
Your daughter becoming a mother. Yeah.
And it's not only them that are growing, you also growing.
Sure.
So it's not something that's stagnant. It's moving. They used to love riding a bike. They don't like the bike no more.
Yeah.
You adjust. You have to be aware of these things, and the only time you'll be able to see and understand these things is if you are there, if you are present, if you're involved.
Yeah.
You'll know or no aksarata papa sekrata rice. If you're not present, you won't know about these things.
Sure.
So I don't know, man. I don't think fatherhood is as complicated as we make it out to be. But it is complicated.
Yeah.
It's simple but not simple.
Yeah.
And the only way to strike the balance is just to be present.
And I think I like one of your interviews. You said that it's not just about money.
Yes.
I like that a lot. She said it's
Yes.
not just about money, but it's about being present. You can
Yes.
have all the money, but not if you're not present, then you're not. Even though you're not, I hope you get what I mean.
Yeah, your money will buy me things.
Sure.
But I'll still don't know you. I'll know you as an ATM dad. That's what ATM fatherhood is.
Sure.
you
So ATM, what does ATM mean?
you substitute your presence with money.
Sure.
It's fathers that throw money at to supplement their presence. I'm not available, but I'm buying you stuff. But dude, I don't want the money, I want you. And then later on in life, we wanna cry foul when the kids complain about you. Yeah, I used to do everything for them, but yeah, you used to, but you were not there. So it's complex, this thing. That's why it's very important to research and be aware and understand your kids as well as you understand yourself. Because it, like I said, fatherhood changes, it moves. They grow, you grow. They were in primary last year, now they're in high school. Libona, they are coming across their own challenges.
Yeah.
You have to also understand what's happening there. Just like every other field or space in this life. If you are a soccer player, for instance, you do research and you know all about these great soccer players and what they do, their training systems and all of that. Or if you want to be a writer, you read all these books and all these things about writing, right? So why do we not invest time and research in equipping ourselves with the necessary information of fatherhood?
I think this is a very great movement because at least it's getting people to talk about it, and God bless you for that.
Thank you, man. I
God bless
really
you for that.
appreciate it.
It's a very big because from a Christian background, I'm Christian, right? So fathers are one of the most important people in the Bible, right? So
Abba.
yeah,
Yeah.
Abba, yes, exactly. You get what I mean? So that's very much important to have that conversation happening and that transferring of skills from one generation to another, right? So I feel like I get the kind of like the idea of what is it that my person and I is aiming towards too, and I mean, so now we just want to get into the work itself, right?
Okay.
So, what are the challenges? Maybe we'll start with the challenges. What are the challenges that you are facing? Once you're doing your work now, so what are things that you feel like, okay, I've been doing this, and then okay, you see something just like glaring into your eye and stuff.
I think, I mean, the challenge is always funds to do what we do because we are a non-profit company.
Sure.
So, and we know to get things done, you need money to do these things, you know. I think for me, that's the only challenge. But apart from that, man, I mean, you said you're from a Christian background, so you'll understand when I speak of a calling,
Yeah.
you know. I think I diligently do this because I believe that's what God called me to do,
Yeah.
you know. So apart from the financials to get most of the work done, everything else I don't see as a challenge,
Okay.
you know.
So you're not meeting coming against stumbling blocks and stuff. You don't get any of those.
I mean, we do. I mean, like, just like any other project that you do, there are always gonna be challenges, you know.
Because I just want to understand in terms of what are the common things that you are kind of like, you're like, okay, this is what I'm noticing. Maybe you're like, okay, guys, they come, but we don't get anything out of them, or
You see, that's another thing, you know. That's another thing, because there's no nice way of telling your personal story.
okay,
Well, I understand.
I get it, yeah.
So maybe if we're talking about a perspective, yeah, maybe we invite somebody to come and share about their own lives, you know. It's unfortunate that we're living in a time where it's content driven.
Okay.
So we eventually feel like we need to spice things up to
Oh, I
make
see.
things interesting, you know? And I don't think you need to add any sort of spice to your reality. That's your reality.
Yeah.
We embrace that. You understand? I mean, to some degree, I don't want to create cloud around growing up in difficulties.
Oh, I see.
It's a very common story for all of us, you know. So how do we then create a space where we now want to make it content? You know, it does not have to be content. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, it is what it is. And I want us to say porang. You know, I'm a
Yeah.
believer that there's no useless book. You know, each and every book holds whatever message that it's intended for to a specific individual. Your story might not impact me, and it's okay. No offenses, there. You know, I can't relate to it. But if I listen to someone else's stories, then it hits me like a ton of bricks. That's what it is. So it's just a matter of respecting each other enough to give each other the platform to be who we are.
I like when you brought books. I saw you have a book that you're reading. What books can you like? Maybe say that guys, go check out this book 1, 2, 3, and maybe it can assist you in
Sure.
becoming a better father.
At the moment, to tell you the truth, I've not been reading in a month. You know, my focus has just
Very
been
busy,
on getting the event for tomorrow done.
Okay.
You know,
There's a lot of preparation that goes into that, right? Right.
eh?
There's a lot of preparation that goes into that.
Yeah, I mean, considering that I'm from Joburg and we're doing it in Cape Town,
Cape
so you
Town,
can
okay.
imagine the logistics around it.
Sure,
you know,
sure.
so that's where my focus has been,
Okay.
and just bringing everything together. But the book, man, I'm trying to think of one book that can make sense, or that has made sense to me.
Okay.
Recently. Sure. I can't think of one right now, eh?
I guess that's open space for the market, in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah, cause I think we'll talk about the book.
Sure.
We'll
Sure.
talk about the book.
Yeah. I think with that said, right. How do you get now to? Because how long have you been doing this now?
Formally,
Okay.
for
Yeah.
4 years,
For 4 years. Okay.
but before then, I think we've been doing it for 2 years.
2 years.
So it's
Okay,
6 years
so
in
6 years.
total. Yeah.
Okay. And then, because I see you have a team, right? How do you get to choose a team that you can work with and to push your the agenda of my pops and I?
You
How,
don't.
how
You
do you
don't.
get to that?
With the work that I do, you don't choose them. Like the work chooses them.
Okay.
You know.
So in what sense? In what sense?
In a sense, because remember, we are in a space. The space that we're in is not like your popularity kind of space, but it has to be something that speaks to your heart and that you relate to.
Yeah.
You know, so most of the people that we teamed up with are people that are just as passionate about the topic itself.
I see. Yeah.
You know, more than it is about me having to go out there and look for people.
Find someone,
You know,
yeah.
You know, people look at what you do like, man, I can relate to this and I'd like to be a part of this, and I'd be like, let's go. You know.
And I think that's a very beautiful story because I think most I don't want to label it entrepreneurs, right? But most people who are actually on the go or who are doing their calling or who are doing what they love to do, right? They always mention that it's very much important to have a very good team around you so that at least you can get a maximum output out of it. So I actually love your story because at least people are actually coming to you to say, okay, we resonate with what you're doing and we want to be part of spreading the message out there.
Yeah.
If you get what I mean.
I'll answer that. I'll answer that in this fashion.
Okay.
Moses never had a team.
Okay.
God gave him the assignment and told him to go.
Take out my people.
That's it.
Yes.
You know? So, whatever assistance and everything that happened in the process, God provided for that. You know? So basically, that's just what it is.
Okay. Building teams. So one of the things that you do, you're big on. You said it's mental health,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, mental health for obvious reasons, whether it be in sports or anything, is very much important. How do you sync mental health into some of the things that you're doing?
Okay. So my definition here, mental health, right? It's the beginning and the end of a human being. Why do I say that? Because everything starts here.
Right, yeah.
The way we behave starts here.
Yeah.
The things that we do, they start there. Suicides, it's all there.
mind, yeah.
You know. So whatever dysfunctions and how we respond to things, it's all mental health. And I think that's another topic that we yet to, as a society, yet to invest time and resources to, you know, because it's another pandemic, you
Sure.
know, because it's been actually a pandemic.
It affects men as well.
It affects everyone.
And everyone, but
I don't
it's
want
like
to. Yeah, no. We should. You see, that's another thing that I don't want us
the
to.
stereotype, yeah.
Yeah, we don't. I don't want us to stereotype it to genders because it affects all of us, you know, and it's dangerous to all of us, you know, and it does not translate itself the same way, you know. So some people express it differently than others. I understand, but it's still a problem. You know, so that's, I mean your depressions and anxieties and all of that, it's mental health. It's something that we need to deal with. We deal with a whole lot of trauma, so we need. That's why I always I do see a shrink. You know,
You see?
a shrink. a psychologist, unapologetically so.
Okay, sure,
I
sure.
see counselors, you
Okay.
know, because in order to get your mental health sorted out, you need to explore that, and because sometimes we think that we're okay when we're not okay,
Yeah.
you know. So book an appointment with a psychologist, and let's see how it goes,
Okay.
and see what it can do for you.
And then I think one of the things that you have done in your organizations, the hikes with the fathers and the
Yes.
sons. How was that the experience? How many have you done, and then how was the experience?
So I mean, with the hike, I think the hike was one of the
I mean,
first one that we actually
Tomorrow will be a
did.
good day to hike.
It would be,
Oh, but you are working, yeah. But
but now, so with that segment
sure.
is a part where it's a platform for fathers and their kids
Yes.
to create those memories, you know, to bond
Yeah.
doing different things, which is also just as important, because kids don't remember the money, but they remember the experiences that they shared with you. You know, you'll be amazed at the event. You know how some fathers, it was the first time hiking. So imagine doing that with your kid, and majority of the kids, it was the first time doing it. You know, so what that does to
Shared
the child.
experience, yeah. Going on. I think maybe let's just wrap up.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Trevor, for coming in the podcast. And I think maybe just a word of closing. Just what can you say? Is there anything that you want to say? Maybe you want to advise anyone, or just
I'm advice. I'm not good at with
just anything that you want to say.
No, I mean, I think we live in times where we just really need to step up, you know, and by stepping up, I mean we need to take responsibility of ourselves, number
Yeah.
one, and the surroundings.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's not only about just fatherhood, but also the respect amongst ourselves as men. We need to respect each other. We need to respect people, and love, bruh. And I think for me, love over everything. You
Love
know,
is the answer.
for everything. You know, we can do and achieve more if we can just open ourselves up to experiencing this thing called love
Yeah.
for each other.
Sure.
And that way we'll be able to respect each other, we'll be able to build together, you know. And that's why we say, you know, with in my pubs and I, that collaboration is greater than competition,
Yeah.
you know.
I think maybe I can just close it like this. The one statement that which struck me was, fatherhood is not a destination, it's a journey.
That's it.
All right, everyone. That was Trevor Mothsegoa.
Motshegoa. Yes,
Oh
sir.
my God. Anyways, guys, have a wonderful night, have a wonderful day. Cheers.
Recording.